Peacemaker Season 2 is currently out and running on HBO Max, and James Gunn himself has said that this series is supposed to kind of serve as the bridge between the various theatrical releases that he's going to have for his DCEU. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing on the surface, but the first major release they had theatrically for his universe was Superman, and the results were kind of underwhelming, and now we're looking at the results for season 2 of Peacemaker when people can watch that for free at home, and it's looking like the audience just isn't there for that either. But before we really get into this, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you can, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and hit the like button too because it helps me out. Peacemaker ratings are tanking. James Gunn's DC experiment is losing viewers and respect. This is coming from That Park Place. James Gunn might be calling fans racist, but it turns out audiences are calling him something else entirely irrelevant. The new season of Peacemaker, once hailed as the bridge to Gunn's DC universe, is flopping so hard in the ratings that it's not even charting on streaming. Now, to be fair, though, James Gunn is kind of coming to this party late. Pretty much tried to launch the whole DC universe or reboot it for Warner Brothers when it was already kind of on a downward trajectory. Marvel kind of started the party back in 2008 with Iron Man, and the MCU has been going successful, but even they're having trouble recently. DC tried to catch up to them, and they just never really got off the ground because they were just playing catch up. James Gunn coming into it in the 11th hour was them doing just that as well, but still it hasn't really worked out. And that's just kind of the normal trajectory for a lot of Hollywood trends, where there's certain things that start off and then hit it big for some time before they kind of go away. The fact that Marvel has been going for, or actually the superhero genre as a whole has been going big for 20 years now is pretty remarkable, especially when you consider all the other trends in Hollywood that kind of come and gone since even Marvel started. Some of the ones off the top of my head is the whole zombie and vampire genres. Those were big during that time frame, and then they've kind of gone to irrelevancy, or at least not how they used to be. There was that period where there was always those dystopian futuristic ones with based off young adult novels and things like that. I mean, those have kind of come and gone. Superhero as a genre or as a trend in Hollywood has been around for quite a while, and it wasn't going to last forever because nothing in Hollywood lasts forever. And it really does feel like, I mean, I think everyone knows it at this time, superhero as a genre is on its way out. Now, that's not to say that there's never going to be any superhero movies that are highly successful. But the whole superhero fatigue thing, that was something I used to just outright reject and say it's bad movie fatigue. And now I think it's kind of a combination of the two. And what I mean by that is, in the past, with superhero movies, people would watch anything because it was a superhero movie, or if it was related to Marvel, that's how they were able to find success with some of their more obscure characters. Now that's not the case, where you actually have to do something that excites audiences and makes audience wants to watch that particular one. And usually you have to be basing it off of characters that people like. Marvel's upcoming Spider-Man, that's probably going to be successful, but not everything superhero related is going to work out anymore. And that's where the superhero fatigue comes from. And that's, I think, a big reason why Peacemaker and why James Gunn's Superman just didn't perform as well as what you would have expected. But there's also more to it than that. According to multiple reports, including data compiled by Nielsen and Samba TV, Peacemaker Season 2 is a non-factor on the streaming charts. This show hasn't cracked Nielsen's top 10. And as Cosmic Book News notes, not a single episode has shown up since its debut. And they have a screen grab of the streaming charts. And yeah, if it's not even able to break into the charts for something like this, it really does indicate that there's not much of an interest to be had there watching it. And like I said at the start, it's something that people can watch free at home. And if people aren't even bothering to tune in to watch a free show that's supposed to be a big part of James Gunn's DCU, well, then there's something wrong there. Even Samba TV, which tracks viewership across millions of smart TVs, shows the series slipping fast, falling to number 16 among original streaming shows by episode 4. So showing that it's actually slipped over time is even worse too, because people just not showing up to watch the show is one thing, but then people showing up to watch it and then they kind of check out just suggests that not only are people not interested, but the people who are willing to give the show a chance aren't really liking what they're seeing. Now, that's a little bit different than what we're seeing on sites like Rotten Tomatoes. This article even talks about how critics love it, but viewers don't. I think that's being a little bit, I mean, I'm not saying to say disingenuous, but I think it's a little harsh to the show, because you can see with season 2, critics obviously like it a lot more than what audiences do, where they're giving it on Rotten Tomatoes 97%, whereas audiences give it an 82%. Now, I'm not going to necessarily say that that's a bad score. 82% I think is respectable enough. The problem is 82% for audiences basically just means the show's okay. And if you're wanting to get people to watch your stuff, especially if it's a movie being released theatrically, you'd have to have something better than just being okay. And apparently that's not, like, while people who are watching it think it's decent enough, it's not enough. The hype for it just isn't good enough to actually get people to tune into the show, or at least not anytime soon. The Superman connection backfires. Cosmic Book News put it bluntly. The logic that Superman could feed Peacemaker simply doesn't add up. Gunn's grand plan was that Superman would funnel audiences into his broader DC universe, starting with the continuation of Peacemaker. Instead, viewers didn't follow. And that's because Superman kind of underperformed. The numbers here, you can see that worldwide, it made just over $615 million at the global box office. And even according to what they're reporting, that it had $225 million budget, that's still not enough for it to break even at the box office. And if you've watched my channel for some time, you know I highly doubt that it was only $225 million. I still maintain that it was probably significantly more expensive than that. But even going by what they're claiming was the budget for it, it wasn't enough to drive out audiences, and it's a Superman movie. I mean, and this is something that, adjusted for inflation, actually, I think not even adjusted for inflation, it still didn't make as much as Man of Steel, which just goes to show the interest in superhero movies just isn't in there anymore, at least not to the same level that what it used to be. And right now we're seeing kind of a spin to try to justify what's happening with the show. It's impossible to ignore how the collapse ties into Gunn's own words. When Peacemaker season 2 started facing backlash, Gunn didn't respond with humility or openness, which is something that you should always do. Instead, Gunn did it's something that I've said many times, that what creatives should never do, which is to try to attack the audience or blame anyone other than yourself and take some responsibility for producing something that people didn't want to watch. He told GQ, "I have a few racists that have called me polarizing, but I'm okay with being polarizing and letting racists fall to the wayside." The single quote sums up Hollywood's ongoing fan blaming playbook: dismiss critics as bigots, deflect accountability, and double down on arrogance. But the tactic doesn't work forever. Audiences have options, and when they feel insulted or misrepresented, they simply walk away. And James Gunn might be trying to say, like, because for people who haven't been following Peacemaker, basically the Nazis are the bad guys in it, which I don't have a problem with that on the surface. But when you kind of bring it into real world politics, where basically anyone who is right of Stalin is considered a Nazi or called a Nazi by the mainstream media, well, then when you're making Nazis the bad guys, all of a sudden it makes it seem like you're attacking over half the audience. And maybe James Gunn tries to claim that that's not who he's talking about. He's just talking about the fringe group, the actual Nazis who realistically are so insignificant in the world. I can see why he doesn't care about alienating them. But someone like James Gunn is online enough to know what's actually happening. And when you see actual real world assassinations, because someone says, like, oh, someone's a Nazi, so we need to kill them, and then that's the real world ramifications for such claims, you really can't get away with just all of a sudden coming back to, like, Nazis are bad guys, we need to kill them and stuff like that, because a lot of audiences, whether or not that was the intention, are taking it as an attack on them, which is something that you shouldn't be doing, because they just got used to being labeled that by people who are just far left extremists. Where does this leave DC? Warner Brothers Discovery has been betting big on James Gunn as both creative architect and brand savior, but after The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman 2 films that were in production before Gunn took the reins, the company needed a win. Superman was a modest theatrical win. I still think it was a theatrical failure. And Peacemaker was supposed to be the TV rating smash this fledgling universe needed. Instead, they're getting silence, no viewership, celebrations, no record-breaking headlines, no marketing victory lap, just the quiet thud of once promising property disappearing from the charts. And like I said at the start of the video, I think a lot of this just is a reflection of the climate in Hollywood right now, where a lot of audiences have just kind of checked out from a lot of superhero stuff. James Gunn not doing himself any favors by attacking audiences or making audiences or giving them any reason to believe that what he's producing is an attack on them. So right now we're just kind of witnessing the superhero genre, particularly James Gunn's universe, kind of circling the drain. Now, does this mean it's going to end right here? No, because there's still a lot of other stuff in the pipeline, and maybe there's some other projects that it'll have that will be successful. But if they are successful, it's not because it's James Gunn's universe. It's for some other reasons out there, because we're seeing it not only with James Gunn's universe with DC, but also with Marvel and other properties that people just don't care about superhero movies like they used to. And I think a lot of studios should probably move to get away from these shared universes and instead just try to focus on things that maybe would be something that fans actually care about, or characters that fans care about, as opposed to just thinking everything needs to be a part of some shared universe right now. Because if they're going to continue down that line, what they should at least do is severely limit the budgets for these projects, because the audiences just aren't what they used to be for them. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to hit the like button and share the video out there, because it helps out with the channel. Thank you.